Hello and welcome, fans of Magic the Gathering. I'm Zjivarra, and this is my Teach a New Player tutorial video. With the rising complexity of the game, have you been wondering how you, a seasoned Magic player, can better teach a new player to understand the basics of the game? Do you sometimes wonder what kind of cards you should make available for them to play their first games with? Do you not want to be the person who simply sends all new players to learn from the tutorials on MTG Arena? Would you like to be a better teacher for younger players that have shown interest in the game? Do you want to teach new people in ways that will be less daunting for them than jumping straight into Commander or high-powered constructed formats, such as Modern or Standard, which can often leave new players confused and overwhelmed? If so, then I'm here to help. When presenting Magic cards to someone for the first time, we need to explain that cards belong to two main categories, one being lands and the other being spells. We should then tell them that lands are at the core of any deck, as they are the resource cards that remain in play, and that turning them sideways allows us to pay for increasingly more expensive spells or multiple spells as the game progresses. Explain that players may only play one land per turn, allowing both players to gradually develop a larger pool of resources in order to cast bigger and better spells the longer the game goes on. Summarize the goal of the game as needing to deal damage to an opponent until their life total reaches 0, while also protecting your own, and that we can achieve this goal by casting spells like this Lava Axe, but that the most common way to whittle down the life of opponents will be to utilize creature abilities and by attacking. Have some creature cards handy to demonstrate the basics surrounding combat, and also to talk to them about casting costs. Preferably start your creature lesson with vanilla type creatures such as these, which have no other abilities or keywords. If in your collection they are hard to come by, simply ask the player to ignore the text box entirely while you explain a few other things first. Point out to them that the first number in the bottom right on a creature card quantifies its power and the amount of damage a creature can do when attacking or while blocking other creatures sent by your opponent. Continue and tell them that the right side number represents a creature's toughness, meaning how much damage it will take to destroy it or for that creature to die. Take some time after this to explain and demonstrate the basics of combat math. Do so through matching up some creatures. Consider using examples like the ones you see here. Make no attempt, however, to throw in keywords just yet. Things like trample, death touch, or first strike should be left for later. Show examples where both creatures die against each other, like when Barony Vampire is blocked by a Tolarian Scholar. Show examples where one creature survives, like when this Axebane Beast goes against this Cat Rebel. It survives with 1 hit point while the Cat Rebel is destroyed. Show them examples where both creatures would survive. Here, the Catacomb Crocodile cannot do enough damage to kill an Aegis Turtle, nor can an Aegis Turtle harm the crocodile. Also show them examples where creatures team up to block, like when the Axebane Beast and Alpine Grizzly work together against the crocodile. 3 and 4 add up to 7 power, and they are able to kill it. Also point out that a creature's controller can decide how its damage is assigned when multiple creatures are blocking it. So for example, if the Catacomb Crocodile chooses to bite the bear, it would die. But if it chooses to bite the Axebane Beast instead, then both green creatures will live through the fight. And finally, remember to explain that creatures that survive will heal back to full after ending their turn. New players can now be told that spells will either have temporary effects or lasting effects, and after being played that they will go to one of two primary zones. Those zones are the battlefield and the graveyard. At this point, you can tell players that cards with lasting effects, or those that stay on the battlefield, are referred to as permanents. They'd likely be able to guess, but tell them that lands and creatures are considered permanents, and that creatures will live on the battlefield until they die. Next, you will want to discuss some of the temporary or one-time effects in Magic. Starting with sorceries, think of the most basic examples to show them, such as cards with destroy target creature or draw 2 cards. The simpler they are, the better. Deal damage, gain life, target creature gets more power and toughness. Tell the new player that these cards go to the graveyard after their effects have been resolved. Now take a moment here to summarize the basic steps and phases of the turn, and the actions that both players will take. Focus on the most important things, like when they will draw a card, when to play a land, how and when to cast spells, the attack, blocking, and so on. Here, you can also tell them that in Magic the Gathering, players are allowed to play their land and spells before or after combat takes place, and that they as the player get to decide when it is the right time for them. If you have opened the right kind of products in the past, you might also have these very useful turn structure and combat reminder cards that you can use when teaching or while playing your games with someone new. For your first game, you should consider having simpler decks prepared ahead of time. Card Kingdom once put together a great intro product called Rookie Decks. In a moment, I will show you the cards in each of them to look at, and you can use them as inspiration for crafting your own teaching decks. Rookie Red is built to be fast. It deploys creatures that can attack as soon as they are played, and with this deck, players will also cast fire spells. Rookie Blue wants to disrupt the opponent. It also contains cards to help a player draw a few extra cards, and many of its creatures have the ability to fly. Rookie Green helps a player to build up more mana to summon gigantic beasts. With their high power and toughness, a player will be able to attack fearlessly. Rookie Black fields creatures that kill with one touch, while also supplying its player with cards that will force the opponent to discard away the cards in their hand. With the Rookie White deck, a player can play smaller creatures early and try to quickly swarm the battlefield before the opponent can execute their own battle plan. While playing your first games with new players, consider playing with all the cards revealed and even asking them to look through the entire deck before starting the game. Encourage them to read the cards slowly and to ask as many questions as they deem necessary. But avoid completely taking over and playing the game for them once you get started. At this point, they should know enough to learn the rest of the game gradually and through discovery as you play. Keywords will start popping up as you play your first games, and you should aim to summarize their relevance without explaining all the possible scenarios involving them. Keep it short and keep it simple. Here's how I would explain some of them to a new player. Death Touch means 1 damage is enough to kill any other creature that takes damage from it. Trample means excess damage is dealt to the player's life. Flying can only be blocked by other flying creatures or the ones with reach. With haste, an attack is possible as soon as a creature arrives on the battlefield. Finally, it is important to remember that nothing makes a player want to play a game more than winning their first game. So go easy on them. And to that effect, before a game where you plan to cast a spell at instant speed, tell the new player about them, and that those spells do exist, and that they can be played in response to other actions made by the opponent, and when going to a different step during someone's turn. That should be more than enough for them to be able to play a few instants successfully in one of their next matches. I hope this video has been helpful to those of you who are very eager as I am to introduce this great game to other people. May you succeed at bringing more people into the hobby, and if you have a unique way of teaching or even playing the game, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. I'm ZJ Zjivarra. Thank you so much for watching.